fauna found in our hinterland that keeps the revenues flowing into Guyana. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is our duty to ensure that the government of the day takes care of the needs of our people in the hinterland region. That is regions number 1, 7, 8, and 9. But what we continue to experience as the years come and go, and as the national budgets get bigger year after year, Mr. Speaker, is that the young in the hinterland continue to be denied equal access to education. I say this, Mr. Speaker, knowing that over 20 years as a government, the PPPC has failed to deliver quality education to our hinterland children. I was hoping that this budget would have sought to improve this situation. If over there, my fellow colleagues boast so much about building a number of schools in our hinterland region, why is it, Mr. Speaker, that the results of the National Grade 6, National Grade 4 Literacy, and the CSEC results coming from the hinterland continues to be very poor as that against of regions 10 and other regions? I hope, Mr. Speaker, that the new strategic plan of education that has not been completed, but is on its way of being completed, address or work towards reversing these poor results in our hinterland. Then I can agree with you, my colleagues on the other side of the house, that the children in the hinterland are being delivered quality education. It was stated last year by the Honorable Minister of Finance that the 2013 budget was bigger and better. But let us take some time to reminisce a little on some of the reflections of that said budget. Has it really improved the quality of the lives of our brothers and sisters living in our interior locations? If I am wrong and misinforming this House, I stand to be corrected. Tell me, honorable members, on the other side of this House, and I will borrow words from my colleague, Dr. Amaya, what direct impact has it have had on the hinterland residents? Mr. Speaker, one of the cries is that there are still limited job opportunities for our young people. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that it is time for the youths to have access to technical or vocational centers in regions 1, 7, and 8, whereby they can be empowered with appropriate skills, Mr. Speaker, to contribute meaningfully to the communities in which they live. What is happening, however, is that youths from Bartica, youths from as far as Chinawing, they have to travel all the way to Georgetown or to Essequibo to acquire a trade or a skill at a very high cost of which their parents could hardly afford. Mr. Speaker, majority of the children who leave the Warramadang Secondary School return home year after year, having been successful at one subject or none in most cases, and having no second chance to equip themselves with technical or vocational skills, find themselves in the gold and diamond fields at a very tender age. These, Mr. Speaker, and more are the reflections of the past budgets. Sir, national school feeding. Whilst we are happy that the government could have continued the hot meal program in our hinterland schools, and according to the study done by the World Bank titled Rethinking School Feeding, Social Safety Net, Child Development, and the Education Sector, established that it is a valuable exercise that captures the most vulnerable in many countries. However, sir, the question that comes to my mind is, Are the monies allocated for this venture adequate? Tell me, Mr. Speaker, what kind of balanced meal can you provide with 175 Guyana dollars in these times to nourish the brain of a child who we expect to become literate and numerate in the end? For Mr. Speaker, that is what is being offered for a child. Not only that, sir, there are cooks who are being paid $1,000 a day for their cooking and would receive $20,000 to $25,000 for the month out of the same allocations given for the school feeding program. Now tell me, comrades, what kind of new mathematics is this? These are all the testimonies that testify to the continuous neglect of our children in the hinterland. Stop neglecting our young people. I say stop making them want to run away from this beautiful Guyana in search of a better place to stay. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would have been proudly, like my colleague, Mr. Damon, saying to this House how many times the Minister of Education had visited the Upper Mazaruni. But so sad to say, we are still awaiting our first visit. And so, Mr. Speaker, we may continue to approve large sums of monies year after year. I believe that it is time we begin to evaluate and examine as representatives of our people to see if development is really taking place in our hinterlands. Is it not time for Bartica to become a township? With better roads, adequate water supply, improved street lighting, and better banking services? Is it not time for a child in Philippi, Arau, or Parima, or Caco to be doing his research on the internet? When exactly would this government become serious about developing our children in the rich hinterland? In 2013, 287.7 million was expended to procure solar systems for ICT hubs. And I see that they have plans to construct 100 hubs in 100 Amerindian communities this year. Mr. Speaker, will our teachers in the hinterland schools and nurses be given laptops so that they can use same to improve their methodologies and strategies to teach our young children? I hope so, Mr. Speaker. Let me touch a little on agriculture. Not because it is less important in any way, but because I have been saying to this House repeatedly that there is an agricultural potential in the Cuyuni-Mazaruni region. We can have cheap and abundant supply of healthy foods and a rich and diverse regional economy. Culture, youth, and sports. Mr. Speaker, while you may have heard my colleague, Mr. Trevor Williams, mention that Region 7 has been without a youth and sports officer for quite some time now, I would like to add by saying that there has been no regional camps held for the past 3 years or more. This was an annual event which used to be funded by the ministry and one which the young people always look forward to attend. This activity was eventually phased out. I asked the women on the other side to challenge me in playing football. Upper Mazaruni and Region 7 has young people, young men and young women who have skills, basic skills, but is awaiting for the Youth and Sports Culture Ministry to deliver training sessions, coaching sessions, referee sessions. We don't have a problem with sports grounds, Mr. Speaker. We have a lot of big football fields. All we need is that the ministry provide materials like football, gears, so that our young people can improve on their sport activities. We all know that sport is good to our health. That's right. And I invite the members of this house come this year when DGCL is having their school competition, where Ramadan Secondary School will be out here again. I invite you to come and be entertained by a very good football. Mr. Speaker, this budget seems to be suffering. This budget, which my colleagues on the other side refers to as a visionary budget, seems to be suffering from a cataract. From Mr. Speaker, to my mind, it lacks a clear vision for the development of this country as a whole. Mr. Speaker, it could not be a better Guyana for all Guyanese when our brothers and sisters in the remote areas continue to moan about the high cost of living, lack of proper medical and other social services. For example, the people at Camarang, who have been suffering without power supply since July of last year. Our Prime Minister and his team was there lately, but perhaps they did not notice because they were staying at the guest house that was given supply and wine. Since July of last year, Mr. Speaker, and without potable water supply for many years now, it leaves me to wonder what exactly was done with the 2.4 billion expended last year for this sector, and what will be done with the 2.5 billion estimated for this year. I am hoping, Mr. Speaker, that our brothers and sisters in Camarang, that this problem will soon be solved, and even this year. We all know that there is a joint agreement between Guyana and Brazil, and that information sharing had begun in the Upper Mazaruni sometime last week. And I am hoping that the residents do not have to wait until the hydro project is materialized before they are given power supply. I hope not, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how many of us would like to live comfortably in such a place. I agree with the Honorable Minister of Finance. Indeed, we have challenges that confront us as a developing country. But let us be real, my comrades. Let us set realistic goals that we can achieve. And if you wish, you can begin to take pattern from the APNU with a manifesto, a good life entitled, A Good Life for All Guyanese. That, Mr. Speaker, is a realistic goal. And when given the opportunity by the populace of this country come next elections, we on this side will work towards a better life for all Guyanese. And we will not stop until we attain the best life for all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, before I finally take my seat, I must join my colleagues, Ms. Valda Lawrence, in congratulating my fellow women, Ms. Karen D'Souza and the Minister of Armenian Affairs, for the awards given to them. And last but not least, I pay homage to the late Mrs. Deborah Bakker, a fighter who fought to the end. And I do that on behalf of myself and the people of Region 7. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hastings. Other members, I invite